I'm Randy White.
I'm Connor Rives.
I'm Matteo,
and this is the I-FormNation podcast.
Today, we're going to be talking about some offseason moves that are worth noting, including trades and signings. Then we're going to be talking about some of the big re-signs that teams were able to pull off. Then following that, we're going to talk about the top free agents, both on offense and on defense, that are remaining. And finally, our last 5 minutes is going to be dedicated to March Madness, and that will be led by Matteo Bani. So to start off, we'll move into our notable moves on the offseason, and we're going to start at the very beginning on the first things that happened. And first, we'll talk about Christian Kirk and his $84 million 4-year contract. What do you guys think?
Well, they paid him like a number one wide receiver, and I don't believe he is a number one wide receiver. So $21 million, there's 4 guys in the league that make more than that. And Christian Kirk's not the 5th best receiver in the league. He just isn't. It's no disrespect to Christian Kirk. He's a good player. And he had a solid, I believe he got injured in Arizona. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But he was solid, but he's not a number one guy. So I don't know what Jacksonville's doing here.
Yeah, when you got a bunch of money like Jacksonville does, they're gonna splurge on some players that don't deserve the money. And Christian Kirk is one of those guys. I mean, the money is just it's such an awful contract that it makes Christian Kirk look like a worse player than he actually is. He's a very, very solid player. I think he'll actually have a good season in Jacksonville, but it's just a bad contract.
Yeah, 900% agree. I think the Zay Jones signing, who they also signed at receiver, was a better signing after the year he had with Vegas. They still overpaid him as well, but by a much less margin. And honestly, I think Zay Jones will have a better year than Kirk will have in Jacksonville. But obviously, like you said, Matteo, the Jaguars had the money. And when you have money, you want to spend it. And it's hard to not spend it. So going after some of the wide receivers that weren't at the top, but they knew they could get immediately, that's what they did. And, it happens. And we see it every offseason with the team that has the most money. They blow money on players that don't deserve it. So the next one that we're going to talk about is Mitchell Trubisky signing with the Steelers. Go ahead, Randy.
Mitch Berg is coming. 4th place in the division. I can't wait. It's a huge upgrade at quarterback. I'm going to take Mitchell Trubisky over Mason Rudolph 10 out of 10 times, but they still have the worst quarterback in the division by far. No disrespect to Trubisky, but they've got Lamar Jackson, the best running quarterback in the league, who I think will bounce back this year. They've got Joe Burrow, who just took his team to the Super Bowl, and they've got Deshaun Watson, who granted has not played in a year, so I guess there's some question marks. But the fact of the matter is that he was a top 5 quarterback in the league when he was playing. And I'm not saying he'll be a top 5 quarterback coming back, but he's no doubt a generational talent still. He's one of the greatest playmakers in the game if he keeps moving the way he was. So it's just the competition's just too steep in that division, and I don't see the Steelers competing with Trubisky.
Randy, your puns are awful. And Mitchell Trubisky is a solid quarterback. With the coaching staff that the Steelers have, I think he'll do a lot better than he is as a quarterback, which is scary because that division is already so close between everybody. And I think Mitchell Trubisky is a quarterback that can win you games, and that's what the Steelers have had for a while, and it's done them well. They made the playoffs last year. And honestly, with Trubisky, they have another chance to make the playoffs. And again, that doesn't take away from the fact that they might draft a quarterback still this year's draft, but Trubisky will probably be the starter the entire year next year.
Yeah, and I really like the Trubisky signing. They didn't pay him too much. It's only a 2-year deal. So this isn't them saying we're dedicated to Trubisky being our guy. This is them saying we'll see what happens. Trubisky could be our guy. We could dedicate a lot of time to him, but with this contract, they were very careful. And Trubisky can be a great quarterback. I strongly believe that. And, with the Bears, he had a bad situation, bad coaching. So he was drafted number 2 overall for a reason. And yes, while it was a dumb pick with Mahomes and Watson on the board, they still drafted him there for a reason. And he has potential and he can still be good. And the Steelers see it. And with that offense, they've looked at some offensive line during this free agency. They've made some moves. So probably going to be looking at a pretty decent year. I don't know about playoffs. Like you said, Matteo, the AFC is way too overpowered right now. there's too many teams that are going to be competing, and the Steelers just don't have the all-around roster to keep up with not just the AFC, but the entire division that they're in.
Don't get me wrong. I just want to reiterate this real quickly. The Trubisky signing was a great signing. I know I cracked a few jokes about fourth place in the division, but it was a massive upgrade, and it was a necessary signing by Pittsburgh, and it was a really good deal. So kudos to Pittsburgh for that upgrade. No discredit to Pittsburgh there. It was a great move.
Fuck Pittsburgh.
Well, so much for being monetized. Anyways, so we're going to move on
Browns fans.
The Chargers. They signed J.C. Jackson to a pretty big deal, and a lot of people didn't think they'd be in the running for him. So what do you guys think?
Excellent signing. They needed to upgrade their defense. Their defense kind of blew games several times, actually, with Justin Herbert, the last 2 seasons, with Justin Herbert putting up crazy points, comeback drives, whatever it may be, and the defense would just give up points right back. They just give up a score right back, and they lose the game because of it. You can look at the Raiders game that ended their season, and you can look at the Texans game where they gave up, I believe, 45 points to Davis Mills' offense, or something around the 40-plus range. So huge upgrade for the Chargers in the secondary. Now they've got him, and I believe they have, correct me if I'm wrong, Asante Samuel Jr., right?
Yes.
So that is a very nice top 2 corners. So Chargers should be very excited about this pickup.
Yeah, and everyone knows he's a great signing. He's a great player, but he brings a lot of consistency to an inconsistent Chargers defense, which we don't know you're going to get out of them. Their secondary is very, very talented, but their depth is so bad that they needed a player like this. It's a great pickup, and everyone knows that. It just but now the AFC West is just more stacked than it already was, which is just crazy.
Yeah, and you guys nailed it. And I mean, if you look at the superstars that the Chargers have on defense, I mean, you got Khalil Mack, you got Joey Bosa, you got Derwin James. Asante Samuel had a fantastic rookie year. So they've got a lot of talent on that defense. And we'll see if it can come together. We've seen a lot of talented defenses in the NFL with talented players not perform, aka Washington last year. So who knows what'll happen? Obviously, the expectations are way high, but we'll see. It's a good signing. They didn't way overpay him. Pretty good value. So
this
the next
defense
signing,
is much more talented. This defense is much more talented than last year's Washington defense, though.
Yes, I agree.
Randy, shut up.
So the next move, this is kind of out of order. We're going to talk about the Bills signing Von Miller, 6-year, $120 million contract. And I'm going to start on this one because it is ridiculous. I love Von Miller. He's a great leader. He's a veteran presence. He can help develop the other players in your locker room. They needed a big guy on defense that can make plays, but that is crazy money to give a guy his age, and a crazy contract overall. 6 years. He's over 30. I don't care who you are. If you are over 30 and you are not a quarterback, you should not be getting a 6-year deal. Now, Von Miller, like I said, he had a great year last year. He's a great player, just a great leader as well. But at the end of the day, it is a stupid contract, but no wonder he signed it. A lot of people had him going elsewhere. Nobody even thought the Bills, but I mean, if the Bills offered me that money, yeah, I'm not going anywhere else. I mean, that was a crazy number that I probably stared at my phone for a solid 5 minutes trying to figure out why.
I'm assuming it's a backloaded contract with void years. That's my guess. Otherwise, this deal doesn't make sense. He's 32 or 33 years old, so his contract's going to go until he's 38 or 39. Edge rushers normally don't play that long. There's been a few, but they're few and far between. So the longevity of the contract and the dollars in the contract, but especially the longevity, just does not line up for me. I understand if Buffalo wanted a pass rusher, they kind of had to do this because Von Miller had kind of narrowed it down to the Cowboys and another team. I don't think it was the Broncos, but it could have been. So if the Bills wanted to land him, they needed to do something absurd like this. And if it is one of those backloaded contracts with void years, then honestly, this is a great move by Buffalo. They get to improve their defense now, and when he starts to go downhill a little bit, they can cut him.
I actually agree with Randy on this one, which is not common. The Bills have been looking for a star pass rusher for a while. I mean, their defense has always been okay, but it's never been the elite defense that you need to win a Super Bowl, especially in a stacked offensive league and a stacked offensive AFC. The 6 years is crazy, but if you can get two to three healthy Von Miller seasons, I honestly think it's worth it. Especially when the Bills are right now. They're contending. They have a superstar quarterback in Josh Allen. They have a great roster around them. I feel like this is a good move, actually.
See, I'm not saying it's not a good move. I want to make that clear. I think the Bills signing him, it makes sense and it fits well for them. But I think the contract is ridiculous. That's my problem with it. I think if any, it didn't matter where he was going to go, because if anybody offered him that money, he was going to take it, because the fact that offer was there is mind blowing. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, Von Miller is a fantastic player. And if you can get a season like he had last year, I mean, the time that he spent with the Rams in Buffalo, then you've solved your big problem on defense and you're one of the better all around teams. So now we're going to talk about one that's kind of flown under the radar a little bit that I think needs to be spoken about, is the Lions signing DJ Chark. And this is a guy who a lot of people thought Jacksonville might bring back, and his name was thrown around the Patriots and the Raiders and even the Packers. So what do you guys think?
I'll start.
Okay.
Sorry, Randy. He's a very, very good player. Again, the only really main concern with him is the injury issues. A good weapon. He's still young. Very, very underrated when he was in Jacksonville. I mean, the offense was just so bad last year, and the injury issues, he wasn't the same guy. So Detroit has a good player in him. The only issue is, can Jared Goff get him the ball in the right spots at the right moments? And I feel like this Detroit Lions receiving crews are very, very underrated. Amon-Ra St. Brown had an amazing rookie year last year, and I think he's going to be a really good player to come. DJ Chark's very solid and has potential still. So Detroit right now is actually looking pretty good for the future. Very, very good.
I love the coaching staff, and this is just another piece to a kind of slowly building Detroit offense. Jared Goff is, he's Jared Goff, but the wide receivers, the skill positions on the Lions are really building nicely. Like Matteo said, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a very underrated receiver. I think he got a lot more recognition and credit near the end of the year. He's shown his talent. He's shown his potential. DJ Chark, another talented receiver with good potential. And then you couple that with TJ Hawkinson, and you got DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams in the backfield, especially DeAndre Swift. You know how much I love Jamal Williams. It's a nice looking offense right there. If Jared Goff can produce.
Yeah, and like you said, both of you guys, he's a very underrated receiver, and I think them bringing him in was super under the radar. I don't think anybody mentioned it anywhere. I mean, it wasn't a topic of conversation. I don't think we even talked about it when we were just messaging during all the madness, because there's just so much going on. So I think it's a great signing. I'm so big on Amon-Ra St. Brown. He is my guy. I love that guy. He won me my fantasy championship by like 0.1 points because he dropped 35 the last week. So I love that guy. So talented, so underrated. And pair him with Chark and then a healthy Hawkinson. And yeah, you got a dangerous team. So the next one we're going to talk about is the Cowboys just absolutely choking with Randy Gregory. I haven't heard what actually happened there, but same contract, chooses to go to the Broncos after agreeing to terms with the Cowboys. Randy, go ahead.
Well, excuse me. From what I heard, okay, Matteo. From what I heard. God. From what I heard, there is a details in the contract that Randy Gregory did not like, the Broncos did not have, and that allowed the Broncos to get him. It's a great pickup by Denver. They really upgrade their pass rush even more, and then they needed someone to replace Von Miller, of course, and that's a very good-looking defensive roster that they've got building in Denver. So this is a really nice pickup for Randy Gregory. He was a talented player, of course. So well done, Denver. And Dallas, I don't even know why. Just why Dallas?
There's some tweets from him about the Dallas's ownership, like doing something. I don't know what that is, but I think that was the reason. I think it's an overpay though. I think he's a very, very solid player, but 5 years, $70 million is a lot of money. And I think it's a little bit of an overplay. They needed a guy though, and they got their guy. If they believe in him, if he can produce like he did last, he had a very, very underrated season last year for a Cowboys defense that was much improved. So if he can have a season like that, Denver has a good pickup. But I think it's an overpay.
Hang on, that's $14 million a year. So he's a good edge rusher. Are you sure a good edge rusher isn't worth $14 million a year?
Yeah, that's why I call it an overpay. I don't think but the thing is, he had a good season last year. Before that, he was just a solid player. I don't think you pay a solid player $14 million a year.
Well, the Jaguars paid a solid player $21 million a year. So, the league is different now. But anyways, I think Randy Gregory is a solid player. He's got potential, and that's what the Broncos are going after is the potential. The year he had was pretty under the radar, but pretty good. And they were signing off potential. And yeah, I'd say they pretty much overpaid him. I wouldn't say it's a super overpay, but they slightly overpaid him. So next one, the Buccaneers, their replacement for Antonio Brown is Russell can't catch the ball Gage. What do you guys think?
Well, it's not much of a replacement, but he's going to be on the field, maybe. I don't know. Him, Perriman, Scotty Miller, he's on the roster. So how much are they paying him?
I'm not totally sure. I didn't get the contract specifics. I don't think they paid him too much.
I'm assuming it's a small deal. It's more wide receiver depth on a team where they've lost some wide receiver depth. So it's not the end of the world. It's not really that bad pick, as long as they didn't overpay him.
I think we see this with a lot of receivers that play with Tom Brady. They learn how to play wide receiver again, and it speaks volumes to just Tom Brady. So I actually really like the pickup. I think he's a very underrated player. Good speed, and if he can learn, like you said, to catch the ball, like a little bit consistent, he's a good player. And it just brings another guy that Tom Brady likes. If you look at Tom Brady's like throughout the years so far, and with Tampa Bay, these are the guys that make those big plays in big time moments. We can look back at the Packers NFC Championship game where Scotty Miller shoved his penis down.
Stop it. Just shut up. That's enough.
Moving on.
We get it. We know what happened. We're moving on. Next subject.
Okay. So my little thing on Russell Gage. Yeah, he's obviously got catching the ball issues, but a lot of young receivers have those issues. And I mean, it happens. So I think it's a solid pickup. I don't think it's anything to, shoot fireworks on. It's just an okay pickup. There's not going to be an easy replacing Antonio Brown. As far as I'm concerned, Antonio Brown was the best receiver on that Buccaneers roster last year. He is still an incredibly talented player, and replacing him is not going to be easy. So obviously we've heard that Brady is campaigning to get Julio Jones, and we'll go ahead and talk about the Julio Jones release next. Titans releasing Julio Jones.
I get it. He played limited snaps last year, so his impact on the team, considering the money he was making, was kind of minimal. So this was the right move, cutting him, especially with the trade they made following that, which I'm sure we'll cover here in a few minutes. So I do agree with the move by the Titans to free up some cap and part ways.
I completely agree with Randy. Actually, he didn't have a good season last year, so it was surprising to me when they cut him. But with the Robert Woods trade, I think it makes some sense. He's said to be back during training camp. So again, the wide receiver core is solid. Julio Jones just didn't fit that team, so I think it makes sense, even though he could still be a very good wide receiver for whichever team picks him up.
I think seeing a name like Julio Jones as us who grew up watching prime Julio, seeing his name and the word released kind of sends a little bit of a shock to us, because I mean, to us, that is one of the best receivers in the league while we were growing up. I mean, fantastic receiver, but yeah, he had a horrible year and he was hurt a lot. So yeah, they were going to be overpaying him, and releasing him makes some dead cap, but frees up more cap than it kills. So, I mean, it makes sense. We'll talk about later where we think he might go. But going forward, I'm going to talk about this one because I'm pretty psyched about it. So 2 moves by the Raiders that were pretty big. We'll get to one later. But this one, the Raiders signing Chandler Jones coming off of a fantastic year in Arizona. And after that, immediately after, they traded Yannick Ngakoue, who was brought in by Gus Bradley, the defensive coordinator last year, who is now the defensive coordinator in Indianapolis. Traded him to Indianapolis to get Rock Ya-Sin, a solid corner. So as a Raiders fan, I mean, I'm pretty stoked. I think that fills a lot of the holes that we needed. I was a little surprised that we went to the pass rush in free agency. That was not something that it seemed like we needed. I mean, with Ngakoue and Crosby being both top 5 in QB pressures this past year, it seemed illogical to go after a pass rusher. But if you can get one of the best pass rushers in the league, a guy like Chandler Jones, then you do it. And Yannick Ngakoue, we got good value out of him. Rock Ya-Sin is a solid corner. We needed a solid corner, somebody consistent, and I think he can be that guy.
Good luck blocking those guys. That's why the Raiders did it. The Raiders know they're in a division with Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. If you want to win football games in a division with quarterback talent that high of a level, then you have to pick up pass rushers. And they did just that. Like you said, they pick up Yannick Ngakoue, and they bring in Yannick Ngakoue they picked up in the offseason, right? And they brought in Chandler Jones, which is a huge, huge pickup, like you said, like you touched on. So I'm just going to be very brief with this. Excellent pass rusher, and it's a huge, huge upgrade to an already very good Las Vegas Raiders pass rush.
Did you say Oakland? Were you about to say
I
Oakland?
almost did. Dude, I don't – just the Raiders, it's Oakland in my head. Every time I just have to stop myself.
Don't get me started.
So dumb. All right. The one thing he brings is the Raiders get a lot of pressures, and their guys are underrated, but Chandler Jones has been a sack guy. He has been able to finish off plays, a lot of forced fumbles last year and the year before. He's always been one of the league leaders in sacks. So I think this pickup is the best that the Raiders made, even with the Davante Adams trade. He just fits what they needed perfectly. A guy that could finish off a play to sack the quarterback. I love the pickup.
Yeah, and obviously as a Raiders fan, like I said, I'm absolutely ecstatic about it. It's one of those moves where you have a guy like Max Crosby who was constantly getting the quarterback, led the league in QB pressures this past year. And then you pair him with a guy like Chandler Jones who finishes play after play, just getting to quarterbacks. And he had said in his press conference, Russell Wilson thought he was going to escape me, but I followed him here. So moving on. Now, this one was also kind of under the radar, and I think it was the best under the radar move that any team made. And that was the Steelers getting Miles Jack after the Jaguars cut him kind of surprisingly. Go ahead, Randy.
It's a good pickup for sure. Miles Jack's a talented player with still a decent amount of potential. He's an upgrade for sure in terms of athleticism for Pittsburgh in the linebacking core, which is something they do need to upgrade. Their run defense was horrible last year, and a huge part of that is linebacker play. So if you can get someone like Miles Jack to be more effective in the run game, then it's a great pickup.
I mean, it's all right. It's nothing special. He's a good player. His potential, his play has kind of been going down the last couple of years. He showed a lot of potential his first years. The injuries just been piling up, which is the main thing with Miles Jack. The release was surprising for me too, but I mean it's all right. It's a fucking Steelers, so.
Dude, chill.
Fair.
Come on, man.
Fair though. All right, so moving on. The Dolphins made 2 moves to get running backs. It's something that people have been campaigning for ever since they drafted Tua, for them to get a decent running back for Tua to be paired with, and they went and got 2 of them. Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds. Go ahead, Randy.
Well, I'm on the Raheem team, so I'm excited about that. Don't make any comment about the pun. It's not a pun. All right, I just wanted to say that. I like Raheem Mostert a lot. He's a very talented running back. He's very fast, obviously. Matteo, what's your deal, man? And if he can stay healthy, this is a great pickup. The one problem with Raheem Mostert has been his injuries, which he's had a ton of. Chase Edmonds is another really good pickup. If the Dolphins use him right, then it's another really nice pickup for Miami.
Two solid running backs come into Miami. They've had like a rotation of running backs for a long time now, which honestly, there's nothing wrong with that, especially with how balanced, like there's not really a huge you can find a great running back, but you can't pay him. It's kind of this whole thing. So having a rotation of solid guys each year, it's fine. And Randy, your puns are just awful. It's just awful.
Yeah. And
What's your problem?
Go ahead,
Go
Randy.
ahead. Okay. What's your problem with Raheem Mostert? All right. What's your problem with Raheem Mustard? All right. I'm on the Raheem team for Raheem Mostert and Raheem Mustard. All right. What's your problem with that?
Let Connor talk, please.
All right, so Raheem Mostert, he was a really good running back for San Francisco when he was healthy, and I mean, you guys both said it, when he was healthy. And if he can stay, Chase Edmonds is the same problem. If they can both stay healthy, they're both really good backs. They are solid, and they can produce what Miami needs. And they're both very quick, very fast running backs, and fits really well with Miami's offense. They're going to be running the ball outside, and they're going to be throwing the ball short over the middle. So, good pickup for both of them. All they need to do now is build that O-line, and then they're set.
Yeah, as a Tua fan, your opinion on this is much more valuable than mine. I don't really watch the Miami Dolphins. All that I've seen from the Miami Dolphins is highlights where it's like, how could Tua make this throw? It's where it's like the one bad throw that he has, and it's a pick against the Falcons. Yeah. So my knowledge of Miami is very limited.
So now we're going to talk about Allen Robinson going to the Rams, and a kind of surprising move to most. Go ahead, Randy.
Well, as a Packer fan, I am devastated. Good pickup by the Rams, I guess, if you were looking to get rid of Robert Woods and you were looking to get rid of Odell, which is what they did. Or I guess they'll keep Odell now since they got rid of Robert Woods, and that would be 3 guys. If they can keep Odell on a cheap deal, he won't be back till November anyway. It's interesting. I don't know if Allen Robinson is necessarily better than Robert Woods. He has been in the past, but this year he struggled, and Robert Woods was playing very well until he got injured. So this kind of feels like just kind of an even thing for the Rams. Like they didn't necessarily drastically improve their team with this, considering that they're not going to keep some talent. So they're not building really on anything. They're kind of just staying the same as far as receiving core goes.
Yeah, after a really down year for Allen Robinson, we'll see how he comes back. Last year just did not work with Justin Fields, and I don't know if that's him or Justin Fields or the offense that was running, but we'll see next year. I think he'll be improved, but the question is, can he get back to the Allen Robinson that he once was, or will he just be in between that from his last year and his best year?
I'm going to say it. You guys are being way too nice about it. It's the dumbest signing of the offseason. It makes no sense. It is the stupidest thing they could have done. You have Robert Woods, Odell. You're going to bring Odell back. You're dedicated to getting Odell back. And you have Cooper Kupp. Why are you bringing in Allen Robinson? He's not better than any of those guys as far as I'm concerned. This past year, you cannot look at this past year and tell me Allen Robinson is better than any of those 3 guys. So they had 3 really good receivers. I get it. Robert Woods was hurt. But trading him away and picking up Allen Robinson on a pretty big deal, and then trying to get Odell back too, it doesn't make much sense. I think they downgraded their overall offense on this. And obviously losing Gerald Everett this offseason, I think they have a worse overall offense than they did this past year.
Let's not move on from that. I completely disagree. You cannot, especially at the wide receiver position, if they're going to get rid of one of OBJ or Robert Woods, Allen Robinson's a great replacement. We don't know why they got rid of Robert Woods. Maybe it was something behind the scenes or just the injury issues. But Allen Robinson, even if they had all 3 guys, he's a very, very talented receiver. No matter how bad of a year he had last year, he's still a talented wide receiver. So getting him on a deal that's not that bad, I don't think it can be a bad move. It just can't be a bad move.
Injuries can't be the reason, because Odell just tore the same knee he already tore up for the second time, and he's not going to play till November, and they're likely going to keep him with moving Robert Woods. So injuries can't be it. I don't understand this move. I'm kind of on the same page as Connor. I don't think it was the dumbest move of the offseason per se. It might have been, but I don't know that this was an awful move. It just feels like a confusing move to me. I don't understand why you have to do this instead of just staying the same. I feel like that was at worst the same, and more likely than not better.
The only thing I can think of, to be honest, is that maybe they're thinking Allen Robinson can fill a sort of Megatron role for Matthew Stafford, being a big physical guy. I don't know. I don't have an explanation. And honestly, I'm not saying that he's not a good player. He's a fantastic receiver. I think he's got a lot of talent. I was really hoping before the Davante Adams move that the Raiders would make a move and get Allen Robinson. He was my favorite receiver in this offseason. But for the Rams specifically, it doesn't make any sense because even though he was the best receiver, in my opinion, in free agency, I think the Rams had 3 guys that were still better. And the Robert Woods thing doesn't make any sense to me. Why wouldn't you want to keep him? And we haven't seen it. We didn't see Odell and Robert Woods on the field at the same time. So just everyone's been hoping to see that next year. And then all of a sudden you sign Allen Robinson and then you trade away Robert Woods and you still haven't re-signed Odell. I think it's just chaos.
Not only that, but they traded him away for a 6th-round pick, which no doubt in my mind, Robert Woods is worth more than the 6th-round pick. To me, you can't justify giving that man up for a 6th-round pick. You just can't.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the Cowboys releasing Collins, their tackle, and then him being picked up by the Bengals. And a lot of people are saying it might be a little bit late for the Bengals to be trying to build that O-line, maybe 1 year too late. Yeah, I did say that. I think they've really built their O-line this offseason. They've done a good job. They brought in 3 really solid guys, really good guys to build a foundation. And it's not like they didn't have talent on that offensive line this past year. They had some players that showed up when it mattered. But overall, I mean, Joe Burrow is just being smothered. And yeah, the sack numbers are ridiculous. They have some players. You can have one good offensive lineman and have a horrible unit. And that's kind of what the Bengals had. They had one pretty good guy in Prince and then a decent rest of their offensive line that was just not performing as a good unit.
Did you just say right tackle Isaiah Prince is pretty good?
He's the best on that offensive line. Before
Jonah Williams is the best offensive lineman on the Bengals, but we can
it was. Did you watch Isaiah Prince play football last year? Not important. Lael Collins, huge upgrade at right tackle. Much needed position, obviously, to fill. Joe Burrow got sacked, I believe, the most ever in a season, including postseason, since he got sacked, 19 times in postseason? And he got sacked over 50 times in the regular season. It might have been exactly 50. So huge upgrade, extremely necessary upgrade. So good on the Bengals. Dallas, I don't know what their plan is. I feel like they're just losing a bunch of guys, and it's a roster. So it's going to be a worse roster this year than last year, and they couldn't get it done last year. So I don't know how you can take Dallas seriously moving forward with them losing guys, paying a running back who was barely productive, $18.5 million this year. I don't know what's going on in Dallas, but they're going to win their division anyway because it's an awful division. But it doesn't mean they're going to go anywhere in the playoffs. I don't think they will. Not with the way it's trending.
I don't think you can if it's late or not. I mean, they're picking up guys. Last year, I don't think they even thought they were going to be contenders this year, nor did anyone. So not going for like splurging on a huge offensive line probably wasn't the best decision, but it could have been justified that they didn't know how good they were going to be. And now that they know they have the pieces to be that good, they're backing it up. And I think they're doing a really good job this offseason of giving Joe Burrow the best opportunity to win the AFC again.
Yeah, and I agree. And I mean, after just going to the Super Bowl, you need to address your biggest concern, and their offensive line is certainly their biggest concern this past year. And, with the rest of the AFC, they needed to fix that O-line because there's a lot of really good pass rushers in the AFC now, and as there was already. But moving on, so we have the Packers trade to the Raiders, Davante Adams. I said I wasn't going to take my shirt off of the Davante Adams shirt, but I did. But they traded their 1st and 2nd round picks for this year to get Davante Adams. And as a Raiders fan, I am stoked. This is one of those moves where McDaniel said, we're not rebuilding, screw that, which, okay. whatever. But him and Ziegler really made moves, and credit to Ziegler because they said he would be in charge of player personnel, bringing in players solely. That would be him. And he's done a fantastic job this offseason. And Davante Adams trade, as far as I'm concerned, we were going to be taking a receiver in the first round. And we were sitting on the 23rd pick. So maybe Jameson Williams is there. Maybe Chris Olave falls. Who knows? But bringing in the best receiver in football and pairing him with Waller, Renfro, and then Josh Jacobs in the backfield, and with a quarterback like Derek Carr, you've set up your offense for tremendous potential success. And I think that move solely to put the Raiders from maybe they're a playoff team to they're a playoff team.
It's tough to say they're a playoff team considering the division they're in, but they no doubt have a very good chance to compete now. Their offense is on par with anyone's in the league with that move. So they're going to have as good a firepower as there is in the league, which is all you can ask for with a trade like that. So they're definitely going to be in position to compete. And that's all you can ask for in a division like that. From the Packers' point of view, as a Packers fan, I have mixed feelings about it. Obviously, I love Davante Adams, and I hate to see him go, but he had to go. He didn't want to play for Green Bay anymore. The Packers offered him just as much money, if not more, to stay in Green Bay, and he wanted to change of scenery. He wanted to leave Green Bay. So they did what they had to do. They had to trade him. This move only works if you can pick someone up in free agency like an Odell Beckham Jr., like a Robert Woods with the trade, like a DK Metcalf, a Tyler Lockett, a Julio Jones in free agency. And obviously they failed to capitalize on Al Robinson. They probably won't get OBJ. He'll probably stay with the Rams. They didn't get Robert Woods. He got traded for a 6th-round pick. So now their options are fairly limited. They could go for a DK Metcalf or a Tyler Lockett or Julio Jones. And that's pretty much where the limitations are set right now. Green Bay has to make a move in free agency and then draft someone like a Williams or an Olave if they want this trade to be worth it. So definitely mixed feelings on that. If they can make the move, then the trade is worth it.
From the Raiders standpoint, Carr and that Adams connection throughout college, so we know they're going to be good together, and the Raiders' offense is going to be good. But again, at the wide receiver position, does this give them enough to make the playoffs? I really don't know. Their offensive line still has a lot of holes. Their offense, even with Davante Adams, I still feel like it's going to be inconsistent. We'll see how Josh McDaniels does, and I feel like that's where it comes down to. If Josh McDaniels is a good coach, I think they have a very good shot to make the playoffs, but we don't know how he is as a coach. So from the Packers standpoint, as a bystander, I actually think they need to make this move. I was surprised they didn't overpay him. I thought with Aaron Rodgers coming back, that's what they were going to do. They were going to give everything to Davante Adams and kind of sit at that almost Super Bowl contender, but not really, kind of a pretender every single year. So I feel like they need to make this move, even though it's sad to see Rodgers and Adams break up because their connection was so good. I feel like it's a good move. The return was a 1st-round pick, I'm pretty sure, right?
1st and 2nd.
1st and a 2nd.
Yeah, so it's a good return, especially for a wide receiver making that much money. I think for both sides, it's a good trade. I think it's a win-win trade.
Yeah, and I 100% agree, especially if the Packers can capitalize on that 1st-round pick and get one of the top receivers. It's a pretty deep draft class in terms of wide receiver this year. So there's a lot of options, a lot of guys, and a lot of guys with great potential. And yeah, it is sad, even as a Raiders fan who now has Davante Adams on their team. It is kind of upsetting to think about that we're not going to have those crazy plays where Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams somehow complete a pass in ridiculous coverage, or like the ones where Davante Adams is just running straight down straight down the sideline, and Aaron Rodgers just does the perfect back shoulder, and nobody sees it coming. The corner's clueless. Like, that connection was one of the best connections in the last 5 years, and it is upsetting to know that we're not going to have that anymore. And I am interested to see what the Packers decide to do at the receiver position with free agency and in the draft, because they need to make something happen because they're still looking to contend.
You two are sad to see it go. How do you think I feel? I'm the Packers fan that doesn't get to watch Rodgers throw those perfect back shoulder passes to Davante Adams.
How do you think I feel? The man behind my wall right now is gone. He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about that next. So we're going to be talking about the Deshaun Watson move. The Browns trading for Deshaun Watson, trading 3 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and a 4th-round pick in exchange for Deshaun Watson and a 5th-round pick. So Matteo, go right ahead.
I think you should save me for last. I have a lot to say. You guys start.
All right, go ahead, Randy.
All right. So we all thought Cleveland had kind of screwed themselves a little bit in this situation. They ticked off Baker Mayfield in the process of trying to get Deshaun Watson. And then apparently Deshaun Watson's camp informed Cleveland that they were out. I don't know if that ever happened or if Cleveland did something to change their opinion. Whatever the case may be, everyone believed that the Browns were kind of doomed and they were going to have to go into the season with Case Keenum as a starting quarterback, which would have been asking for another 5-12 year and last place in the division. But instead, they got their okay, Matteo. Instead, they got their they flipped the switch. I don't know what happened, but Deshaun Watson is in Cleveland now, and it's definitely a huge upgrade at quarterback. What's confusing to me is they said that the reasoning for getting rid of Baker is they wanted an adult at the helm of quarterback and then decided to go after someone with 22 sexual assault allegations, which I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't sound like a very adult, mature thing to have on your resume. It's confusing. It's an upgraded quarterback, but the reasoning behind it is just nonsense.
Yeah, and I think the only thing that I can think of that makes sense for the fact that Cleveland was able to get back in the race and secure him was that the entire contract that they gave him is guaranteed. Every dollar of that contract is guaranteed, and it is the largest contract in NFL history. He's in his contract, he's making $80 million more than Aaron Rodgers is making on his. And that is a crazy, crazy number. And yes, Deshaun Watson is a fantastic quarterback. But I think that is the only reason that he ended up going with Cleveland is because they said, we'll give you all the money guaranteed. And I don't think anybody else was willing to do that because it's a little crazy. I mean, guaranteeing every dollar of a contract is very rare and you don't see it happen very often. And yes, Deshaun Watson is a great quarterback. And I think he's going to be a top 7 guy this year, but it's a crazy contract. And I think a lot of people thought Cleveland was out and it was looking like it was between the Falcons and the Saints. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, the Browns got him. And I think it's a blockbuster, obviously. And what the Browns gave up, I don't think was that bad. Yes, 3 first-round picks is a lot, but you're getting a generational talent, one of the best quarterbacks in the league out of it. And it's not like he's old. He's 26. So you're getting a pretty young quarterback with a lot of talent and a pretty smart guy on the field, pretty smart guy. But yes, the 22 cases that the NFL is looking into right now does make you question why they would make the move right now. But they did sign Jacoby Brissett as a kind of, well, if he gets suspended, then at least you've got someone decent at the helm. So Matteo, all yours.
Hang on, Matteo, just before you jump into this, Matteo, I just want to take a second to bring up the Carolina Panthers because their whole thought process on the whole trying to get Deshaun Watson is mind-blowing to me. I don't know about you guys, but it's just I can't wrap my head around it. You waited a year to get this guy, offered him a large haul, offered Deshaun, Texans a large haul to take in Deshaun Watson. I'm assuming 3 first-round picks, probably Christian McCaffrey in there as well. And you won't commit to him long-term. And that's the reason Deshaun Watson doesn't waive his no-trade clauses because they refuse to guarantee the 3rd and 4th year in the contract. What are we doing? Because now you're going to be irrelevant. You're just not winning the NFC South. You're not even going to compete in the NFC South. It's going to be the same thing that happened last year, only possibly worse. Because at least last year they had a good start. They started off 3-0 and then went 2-12 the rest of the year. So the Panthers are just going to be awful again because they don't have a quarterback, and they could have fixed all of that had they just committed to Deshaun Watson long term, because we all know he's a generational talent. Why don't you just commit to him?
So a lot of thoughts ran through my mind when this trade happened. My first one was I'm about to take back all the Big Ben rape jokes. That was the first thought that ran through my mind. But on a serious note, Baker Mayfield is my favorite player of all time. So it's really sad to see him go. And I thought I wouldn't be very excited when this trade happened, if it did happen, because my favorite player is going to get traded. But when it happened, when I tell you I was so excited that I was not expecting. Deshaun Watson is on the Cleveland Browns, and to put into words of how happy I am is an understatement. We'll see how many games he gets suspended. But he's an amazing player. And Andrew Berry, again, showing why he's one of the best GMs in the entire NFL. We didn't have to give up a single player in this trade, which is mind-blowing. When the Texans have so many needs and could have made any offer in the world for Deshaun Watson that Andrew Berry accepted, we had to give up 0 players. 0, which is great. We had Denzel Ward was getting thrown into trade rumors. A couple other players like Greg Newsome, another corner. We had to give up 0 players, which is so crazy. The contract is a little big. I don't know how they're gonna be able to sign anybody ever, but we have Deshaun Watson, so who cares? But the main thing it does is it puts the Browns in Super Bowl contention. I mean, this roster is already so good, and as much as I think Baker's a good quarterback and very underrated, he has inconsistencies, and we don't know how good he's going to be next year, especially after a very bad year this year. So we're getting a surefire guy, even if he's suspended at a maximum probably like 8 games. Even if suspended 8 games, the 9 games that he plays the rest of the season are going to be tremendous. And for the long term, and the thing they're not saying about the contract is we have him locked up for a very long time. No matter the money, we have him locked up for 5 years. So we have 5 years of one of the best quarterbacks. When he was last playing, in my opinion, top 3 quarterback in the NFL for 5 years. So I know you guys might call me crazy for playing the Browns in Super Bowl contention, but I really think they are.
Well, don't say locked up. If you guys trade Amari Cooper, he might just decide to sit out for 3 seasons.
Randy, just shut up. All right.
Well, so yeah, I'm gonna comment on that Browns Super Bowl contention thing. I would say the Browns are in no better position than the Raiders. They could be a playoff team.
I agree.
The AFC
The Raiders have a better roster right now. They do.
The Raiders have a better overall team, and the Browns obviously have a better offensive line, and they've got better defensive backs. But I'd say overall, everything else, the Raiders have better. But the Browns are a well-coached team. Kevin Stefanski is a really good coach, and they said they did extensive research on the Deshaun Watson situation and his character, which, okay.
Extensive research. They didn't even talk to the attorney that was representing the 22 women. So, yeah.
It's okay.
That sounds pretty extensive to me.
But yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting move, and I think that it's going to be a good move in the long term for the Browns. Obviously, we'll see what happens with the NFL's investigation, but yeah, calling the Browns a Super Bowl contender after getting one guy, I don't care if it's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That's a little bit of a stretch, but they are definitely going to be competing really well for the playoffs, and with Deshaun Watson, they're going to be competing for their division, even with a really good Ravens team.
Yeah, their extensive research was, hey, Deshaun, did you do it? And he was like, nah, I didn't do that. And they're like, all right, bring the contract in. That was their extensive research.
Bring my boy Deshaun. He didn't do nothing.
All right. So we're going to move on. Last one we've got here is the Chiefs signed Juju Smith-Schuster to a 1-year deal. And go ahead, Randy.
I don't know. They already have a really good receiving core. They added another guy to it. I don't know what that does. I don't know. I mean, they already got Tyreek Hill and McCole Hardman, and I guess congrats, Juju's on the team too. I mean, he can make TikToks with He can make TikToks with what's his face again, Jackson Mahomes. So I guess that's fun. The Chiefs are pretty much the same still. I don't think like, oh, the offense is opening up now. It's the same offense. It's not like they added another weapon that's going to really break things open. It's the same offense.
I couldn't disagree more. Juju Smith-Schuster, I feel like, is still underrated because of how much scrutiny he gets about his off the field stuff and his injury last year. The Chiefs have a lot of speed guys, but he is a very good possession wide receiver. So, and an underrated route runner. So I feel like this pickup is really good. They've been rumored to get him for last year and this year. So I think it's a really good pickup for the Chiefs on a 1-year, $10 million deal. It just boosts their offense in an offensive league right now. So I love the deal.
And the Chiefs are showing the Jaguars how you're supposed to spend $10 million, by the way.
It was Connor's turn.
No, Randy, you're right, though. That $10 million deal for 1 year. It is an incredible deal to get a guy like Juju. And yes, Juju was hurt last year. And yes, Juju fell off a little bit. But he's still a good receiver. And he's a fantastic wide receiver, too. And, you can slide Hardman back in the slot where he belongs. And you got a good offense. I mean, obviously, it's going to be consistent. Randy, you saying I don't know 20 times kind of had me worried that you were going to say it was bad, but yeah,
no.
Juju he's a solid receiver, and it's a good signing at the value that they got him at. And obviously, they didn't commit to him for a while. It's a 1-year deal. See how he does, and if he does poorly, then you let him walk. But we'll see how he does.
And I think an important thing to note is Juju fell off when Antonio Brown left because defenses were able to be like, all right, that's the number one guy. Go get him. Now they've got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So Juju's going to have one-on-one coverage pretty much the entire game. So he's going to be able to be productive. So this is a great place for Juju to be where he's not going to be forced to be the number one guy. He's just kind of going to be a third option basically behind Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And maybe even a fourth option behind McCole Hardman. So this is a really good spot for Juju. He's going to be able to get open a lot, and he's going to be able to get a lot of looks, I think.
Yeah, and obviously he's had pretty inconsistent quarterback play through his career. Big Ben has been declining, falling off a mountain ever since Juju was drafted, pretty much. So
it was really the elbow injury. It was the elbow injury.
Yeah. So obviously a much better quarterback, much better situation. And like you said, Randy, I mean, not the primary guy. So he's going to be in a better position to make plays. So now we're going to move on. I'm going to just fly through 8 of the notable re-signs that I noticed. And I'm just going to say them real quick and you guys can say anything you want about them. So we've got Rashad Penny back to Seattle, Dante Jackson and DJ Moore back to Carolina, Fletcher Cox back to Philadelphia after they released him, Eli Apple back to the Bengals on a small 4-year deal, or not 4-year, 1 year, $4 million deal. Young Ho Koo back to the Falcons, Rasul Douglas back to Green Bay, and Cordell Patterson back to Atlanta.
It's Young Wei Koo.
I think Young Ho Koo is the best player out of me. This guy's the most important player. All good resigns. The Eli Apple one, people are going to scrutinize because Eli Apple's a meme. He's an okay player. Even when he has those awful plays, he's still an okay player. Had a couple good moments last year. Dante Jackson's a very underrated signing. I like him as a corner for Carolina. Cordell Patterson, he's solid, and the Falcons still suck. Rashad Penny had a very, very underrated year last year after showing no potential his first year. So that's a pretty good signing, especially with Chris Carson being injured every single day of his life. So most of those re-signings are actually pretty good. I don't see any overpays or any bad players getting re-signed.
Yeah, I just want to touch on Rasul Douglas because I'm a Packer fan. So obviously I'm super excited about that. I think 3 years, $21 million. It's a $7 million a year deal, pretty much. I mean, with incentives, it could be a little bit more than that. It's a great pickup for Green Bay. He was very, very important to our defense. Bringing him on transformed our secondary. He made so many huge plays. Pick 6 against the Rams. pick six against the Bears in a game. We blew them out, but still, it was a cool play. A game-sealing interception versus the Cardinals where AJ Green's remote turned off and Rizal Douglas made a play. It was a really good play on the ball still. So he was so instrumental to our defense. An interception against Baker Mayfield where he committed a penalty that did not get called. So that was cool. The Browns probably should have beat the Packers, but we're not going to talk about that. Sorry, Matteo. It was a really good pickup though. Rizal Douglas is a very solid player, and he really kind of got back to his peak play with Green Bay. So that was great to see. Rashad Penny, like you said, no potential his rookie year, but he played really well in the back half of the year this year. Showed a lot of potential. So good signing, good re-signing by Seattle. Young Wei Koo, one of the better kickers in the league. So great re-signing by Atlanta, and same thing with Cordero Patterson. Great versatile player, excellent kick returner, excellent punt returner. Really showed his versatility this year in the running and passing game. Running and receiving game. So really nice pickup by Atlanta to bring those two guys back. Like you said, I'm going to be less mean than you. They're still a bad football team though. So they got a lot of work to do if they want to be relevant even, but that's about all I got.
I think most of those are good moves. The DJ Moore extension was a really good one to me. 3 years, $61 million. You're getting a really good receiver for $20 million a year. I mean, that's less than Jaguars pay Christian Kirk. So, I mean, steal. And, Rashad Penny obviously showed up. Dante Jackson, underrated. Fletcher Cox is getting old, but as long as the contract wasn't too big, it's good to bring him back. He still can
14 million.
He could still be 14 million. Okay. He's a little overpaid, but that's solid. Rizal Douglas, obviously underrated corner. He gets memed a lot, but he's a really good corner. I don't really understand the memes, to be honest.
Yeah.
Eli Apple, not a huge deal. I think a lot of people were hating on him a lot after the Super Bowl when he was guarding the best receiver in football of the season.
Yeah.
And then that's the reason the Bengals were able to get him for such a small number, because that last game is what drew all the attention, and they were able to lower his value number and get him for cheaper. And then Cordell Patterson coming off a really good year. He's not going to repeat that year, but I think he'll have a solid year, especially because for the Falcons, he's really the only receiver that they have at the moment. So, and he's a running back. So, I'm sorry?
Kyle Pitts.
Oh, well, Kyle Pitts. Yeah. Tight end receiver, whatever. He is wide receiver. Yeah. But, Cordell Patterson's a wide receiver too. Let's be real. So yeah, all solid pickups. So we'll have one last one that I forgot about a minute ago on offseason moves. The Chiefs decided to sign Justin Reed instead of bringing Tyrann Mathieu back. Let's fly through this quick. What do you think?
Who's starting?
I'll start. Justin Reed had a really good year last year. He's a really good player. I think a lot of people forgot about him, especially when he signed with the Texans, but he's a really good player. I honestly don't think that throws out a possibility to re-sign Tyrann Mathieu, but gives him more depth. Even if I don't think Tyrann Mathieu is going to re-sign, but to say he's completely out of re-signing with the Chiefs I think isn't correct. So, yeah.
Well, they're both free safeties, and you only put one free safety on the field.
Safeties, they're safeties. They're safeties, not free safeties. I call them safeties.
Well, they play a specific position. It's called free safety, and they're both free safeties.
You said not to say anything about gay, so I'm not going to do it. But I would. That's what I'm telling you.
Oh my God! Shut up, Matteo. Connor's about to just fold up here. Be quiet. Come on.
Okay, I'm going to talk.
Safeties. There's no such thing as depth at free safety. You have one free safety and you have the backup free safety. And Tyrann Mathieu's not going to neither of them are going to be backup free safeties.
Tyrann Mathieu's such a good player. You can put him at anywhere on the field and he can make plays, even if it's strong safety, free safety, no matter what. Justin Reed is a great player. You can do the same with him. All I'm saying is it doesn't throw out the possibility, especially when teams don't play both players at the same time. You can switch them out and put them at the same time. Switch them out, have none on the field. It doesn't really matter. You have different rotations for different type of sets.
He's not going back to Kansas City. He's pissed at Kansas City. He's made like
I'll bet
4
on it.
complaining about him.
I'll bet on it.
All right. So yes, the Justin Reed signing. He's a solid player. Had a good year. He's gonna have a successful season in Kansas City. Good, and he's young, so they're getting a good player that's still got room to develop, and he's still going to be really good. And Tyrann Mathieu could sign back. I mean, dogs and cats could fall from the sky, but it's not like it's going to happen. It's not likely. It's ridiculous to think that it will happen, to be honest. Tyrann Mathieu is gone, and there are multiple places he could be looking at going, including the Raiders, but no, he's gone. And yes, Randy, you are 100% right. I can't believe I'm agreeing with you, but you are 100% right. They're not going to pay 2 free safeties that big money. And yes, Matteo, I get your point. You can move them over to strong safety, either one of them, but that's not their position. That takes some adjustment. Just it's like any cornerback. Most corners play on one side. They're left corner or right corner. They are dedicated to that side. If you watch any football, you'll notice that. And it's the same thing with safeties. They're used to certain formations, they're used to be on a certain side of the field on certain plays. And the free safety and strong safety are slightly different. People seem to forget that.
While you make valid points, you're still I held myself back. I'm not gonna say
That's yourself. God,
stop.
Come on, man. You're killing me.
Send it to me later. Don't say it now.
I'll text you like
All right, so now let's talk about some of the top remaining free agents. Let's try to go through these relatively quickly too, since we've been spending a lot of time. So on offense, we have Jameis Winston, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, Sony Michel, Philip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon, Marcus Mariota, Odell Beckham, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Jarvis Landry, Will Fuller, Gronk, J.C. Treader, Terron Armstead. Pick a couple names that stand out to you guys and talk about them. Where do you think they'll go?
I'll start, Jarvis. I'll go with Jarvis Landry, Will Fuller, and both are rumored to go back to the Browns. That's why the reason I'm talking about them, or not back for Will Fuller, but Jarvis Landry. 2 solid players. I think Jarvis Landry's been on the decline for a while. Will Fuller still solid. Had a great year with Deshaun Watson as his quarterback, so we'll see there. Terron Armstead is the best player who was in free agency to start, and he's still available. Has been rumored to go to the Dolphins ever since the beginning of free agency, and I still think that's the main possibility. So whoever gets Terron Armstead, though, I think is going to be one of the winners of free agency. He's that good of a pickup. But there's still a lot of guys left, and people are kind of forgetting about it because the days of free agency have gone by and all the big trades and all of that. But there's still a lot of solid pickups for teams to get in free agency.
Spoiler alert, Gronk is going to Tampa Bay. He's not. I know, right? It's crazy. I have inside sources on that. Not really. He's not leaving Tom Brady. It's just not going to happen.
He was talking about Joe Burrow so nicely. You tell me he's not going to Cincinnati? Oh my gosh.
Dude, I thought he was going to Cincinnati.
Dude.
If Tom Brady would have stayed retired, then maybe he goes to Cincinnati if he doesn't retire himself. But he's not leaving the only quarterback he's ever played for to go play for someone who's 25 years old just so he can be there for one season, not win the Super Bowl, and then leave. Because Cincinnati is not going to – not this year. The AFC is too good. But he's staying with Tampa Bay. I don't know. I guess Will Fuller might go to Green Bay. They tried to get him and failed a couple years ago when he was in Houston. There's probably a better chance he goes to the Browns just because Green Bay doesn't believe in bringing in wide receivers in free agency. I don't know if it's like a phobia of theirs or there's like, nah, we don't want to improve the team too much. Why? God forbid Aaron has a second option.
Brian Gutekunst is just better. So
I do like Gutekunst. He's a great drafter. All right. Other than the Jordan Love pick, which we're not going to talk about the Jordan Love pick. We're just not going to talk about it. No disrespect to Jordan Love, but Green Bay had no reason to draft him. It would have been a good pick for a lot of other teams.
You're getting off topic. I'm stopping you. You're getting off topic.
I am getting off topic. At the point, I'm trying to cover whatever. He's a great drafter. Gutekunst has done a fantastic job drafting players, other than receivers, of course, because he doesn't like to draft them. I'd like to see Will Fuller in Green Bay, another speedy option if they don't bring back Valdes-Scantling, who I believe you may have touched on, but he's another free agent that they're trying to bring back. So that's definitely a possibility. One of those two guys. I'd prefer Valdes-Scantling just because of the connection, the continuity for sure. And that's about all I got in the free agents. I don't have much to add. I feel like we've already touched base on some of them. We've already talked about Julio a little bit. So that's pretty much all I got on that.
All right. So yeah, Jameis, obviously, he's staying in New Orleans. There's no debate there. I don't think. I think that's the only way that makes sense. Julio, yeah, we did touch on a lot. We've talked about him, but I think Packers or the Buccaneers, he's going to a contender, and
maybe the Browns.
I could definitely see the Browns. So he's going somewhere with a good quarterback and a good team, and it'll be one of those places. But let's move on and talk about the defensive that are remaining real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. So we have Tyrann Mathieu, Stephon Gilmore, Bobby Wagner, Jadeveon Clowney, Calais Campbell, Jabril Peppers, Zadarius Smith, Donta Hightower.
Go ahead.
You got it, Randy.
Okay. So I don't know what the heck was going on between Adam Schefter and Zadarius Smith's camp and whatever, but Matteo's heart was broken for a solid day and a half. And I think Adam Schefter should apologize to Matteo Boni for giving him a heart attack, because Zadarius Smith was supposed to sign with the Ravens, and then he backed out of the contract. And then reports come out that Zadarius Smith not only may have never signed a contract, but also may have never even seen or was ever given a contract by the Ravens, meaning that whole exchange may have never even happened at all. So I don't know what's going on with I think it was Adam Schefter that reported that. And I've got a lot of questions as to what's going on. I know Adam Schefter's been heavily criticized this year, and I'm not looking to beat the dead horse on the Adam Schefter criticism right now, but I do have a few questions as to what on earth happened there. That's really my main point to touch with the defense. Hopefully he goes back to Green Bay. I'd love to see him back there, but anywhere he goes, just not to an NFC North team. And I'll be a happy guy as long as he doesn't go to an NFC North team that's not named Green Bay.
There's a lot of guys left again. I'll try to go through this quick. I think Tyrann Mathieu is still the best player on the board. And even though you guys say there's no chance to go back to the Chiefs, I think there's a chance. But I think he'll I saw a post that was sent by Connor in the group chat, which kind of feels like I'm just stealing it from them. But I actually thought this for a while. I think he'll go to the Chargers. I think it makes sense for them. They have a little bit of money left over. And again, they've been great all offseason. So I can definitely see them making a really, really good move. So, yeah, that's my only thoughts.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Derwin James is a strong safety, so that works out, Matteo. Good job.
Yes, he is.
You're a bad person.
Nice job, Matteo. But Matteo, you don't want to talk about Clowney and how you guys have maybe offered a contract and he has not said anything?
David Clowney had a really, really good year last year, and I think he was leaving up till we decided to get Deshaun Watson, which will probably change the minds of a lot of free agents that are still left. So I definitely could see him going back. I think the contract offer was 2 years, 24 mil or something around that, which is actually pretty solid. If he can stay healthy, that's the main thing. He's amazing on the run stopper, a decent pass rusher, but the run stopping for whatever team that gets him, even if it's the Browns or not, they're going to get a really good player.
Yeah, and I'll just say real quick, Bobby Wagner, I think, is someone that nobody's really talking about. I mean, obviously Seahawks cut him, trying to clear up some cap space. And they tried to restructure his contract before cutting him, and he didn't want to restructure. So they had to cut him. And, I could see him going to the Broncos following Russ, and I could see him going to the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys is a good fit for him. Some of those other names, Donta Hightower, I could definitely see him coming to the Raiders. A lot of teams need linebackers, and Hightower and Wagner are both still talented guys who have that veteran aspect that a lot of teams want in their middle linebackers. And then Stephon Gilmore is a big name everyone keeps looking around. Reports that multiple teams, including the Raiders, have submitted offers, but obviously nothing on his end quite yet. So we'll see what happens with him. I could see him going a number of places. I don't have a guess for him. I'd love to see him come into the Raiders. We could really use him, but if we don't get him, then I mean, whoever ends up getting him is getting a solid veteran that is really good one-on-one. And that's all I've got.
We good? Awesome. I'm a little disappointed that we don't get to hear Matteo's Baker Mayfield as a top 10 quarterback when healthy. Little announcement, and we'll probably never hear that again.
Top 10 quarterback in the NFL when he's healthy. Probably going to be Indianapolis. Indianapolis is going to win the division and probably the Super Bowl. Go on.
There it is. There's the Matteo we all know and love. All right. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out more content, hit the subscribe button, visit our account. We have an Instagram account as well, I-FormNation. If you want to look out there, we got memes, we got news, we got anything you want as an NFL fan. Make sure to check that out. And before we wrap this up completely, Matteo Bonnie, March Madness. Let's go.
The only things I have to say, Miami just upset the best player in college basketball, Jabari Smith in Auburn. Iowa State's on a run. The Peacocks of the whatever their name is, I don't even remember right now, of New Jersey. They're in New Jersey.
St. Peter's.
St. Peter's. Peacocks on a little run. Gonzaga's looking like the best team in the country, like we all expected, but Arizona's looking good too. Those are the two top contenders right now, Gonzaga and Arizona. A sleeper team probably right now is Villanova. Villanova looks really, really good, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on them. Best player still left is Jaden Ivey. All right, that's it.
All right, real quick, I just want to toss in real quick. I think North Carolina is a sleeper team to watch as well. I think they were seated pretty low for the talent that they got on that team. And when their two guards are popping off and making their shots, they're one of the best teams in the country. They are really hard to beat when those two guys are making their shots. And RJ Davis coming off a really good game this past game against Baylor, obviously defending champions. And obviously they were able to beat them after giving up a fairly significant lead and 25 points. And yeah, I think Villanova is a team to look out for. They played a pretty good game against Ohio State today. And I mean, watch out for that three-peat championship of Villanova, North Carolina is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and Kentucky's a great basketball team too. I'm sure they didn't play much of anyone in the first round, so or the second round. So I'm sure they're looking for success as well.
Did you say Kentucky?
Yeah, he's making a joke. My random NFL opinion is Jair Alexander is a top 2 cornerback in the NFL. Okay, that's
yes,
it.
Sir. Yes, sir. That's what we like to hear. That's a great note to end it on right there. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it to the end of this, if you want to check out more, like I said, subscribe. We also have Spotify. So if you want to check out our podcast on Spotify, if you're going on a long drive or if you just want something to fall asleep to, relax to, hop onto Spotify and type in I-FormNation there and you'll find us there as well. So thank you all so much for watching. We will see you next time.